Expert brought some classic draft picks to HGC EU. It's time to see if B-Step will do the same once again, this time versus Team 8. Gale and Dread here to bring you 2 more NA matches, but before we get to that, Dread, is this the start of something great? And by great, I mean big. And by big, I mean Warhead Junction?
Yeah, I think it is. You know, after that last series, and it's becoming more popular in North America, the entire world seeming to feel the effects of Warhead Junction.
Yeah, don't know if I'm quite ready for Warhead Junction to be in the norm, if anybody is, but we'll have to see if more teams start picking it up. Anyway, to see what teams here are playing for, let's check in with the HGC NA standings. Man, superstars have been fighting tooth and claw to try to overtake B-Step ever since B-Step beat them in Part 1. And today, that hard work may come to fruition if Team 8 can take out B-Step. Meanwhile, you know, No Tomorrow would love to do the same thing versus Team Naventic, but if they want to do it today, they have to take down Gale Force eSports, and that is quite the tall order, Dread.
Yeah, it very much is going to be No Tomorrow there, tied for the very last position in North America, going up against the new and improved, is how I'm going to label it here, Gale Force eSports in Part 2.
Yeah, it is, it's going to be hard for No Tomorrow, but even if they could take some games off of Gale Force eSports, I would consider that a huge victory, especially since Gale Force has looked so dominant.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, you know, because this is going to be very, very difficult for No Tomorrow. If they put up reliable games and if they somehow manage to win one, that very much would be a very big win for these group of players.
Well, let's see what you guys at home can look forward to today. Starting with HGC Korea. If you guys missed L5 versus Tempest, please go watch that series, because trust me, it was awesome. Meanwhile, Fnatic continue their tear through the competition, getting another 3-0 victory under their belt, and Tricked Esport, in what can only be described as an explosive end to their series, took out Team Expert. We'll be closing things out with a rematch of Teammate B-Step, former teammates there, but we are kicking things off with No Tomorrow versus Gale Force eSports. This series is a series of 2 teams who have shown vast growth from throughout the break.
Yeah, it's just, you know, Gale Force obviously started with a pretty big lead when it came to the overall strength. So I think both teams have made dramatic positive improvements. It just comes to, like, you know, the gap may be a little bit too big for No Tomorrow to be able to get a series win here against Gale Force eSports. It's just, I cannot get that point across that this is a almost David and Goliath type situation for No Tomorrow at the very end, even with the new improvements they've made. If Gale Force comes out swinging the way that they have.
But No Tomorrow, although they did lose to Tempo Storm 0-3, they were pushing advantages with mercenary camps. They were ahead even on Towers of Doom. Versus Tempo Storm 2, things looked so much different than the No Tomorrow that we had seen. A lot of in sync. It's just whether or not we see that same type of consistency this week as we had from them last week.
As along with hitting some of the skill shots, they had a lot of the right things planned out in their games that we saw, the positive changes. But sometimes the skill shot chain, especially when they had CC train compositions, they have to make sure that they line those up if they're going to even have a shot here.
Well, let's hear what the players have to say about this epic matchup.
I think the mentality going into every match is always like, just never underestimate any opponent. We're going to treat them, you know, as serious as if they were Tempo or teammate. Like, we're going to try and win at all costs, like 3-0, no troll comps or anything. I feel pretty confident against No Tomorrow. I don't think they're like a bad team or anything. I do feel like their kind of teamwork and overall like map movements, shot calling, macro in the mid game is not that strong. So I feel like as long as we play our game and no one screws up severely, we should be able to beat them.
I think during the first half, there were a lot of issues going on within our team. And I think people have really just tried to put it past and focus on playing to the best of our abilities. We think Gale Force is a really strong team right now. They had a great showing against Team 8. But we do feel really confident in our abilities this half of the split, and so we wouldn't be surprised if we took the set.
Pretty confident words from Casanova, but the lethality of Gale Force eSports at this moment cannot be overstated. They have the highest team KD ratio of every team in HGC North America. They claim 3 of the top 5 player KDAs, which is insane, the other 2 belonging to Tempo Storm. And on top of that, every single victory they have had so far in Part 2 has been a clean 3-0 sweep.
Yeah, only a couple of games so far has it even been, do they have a chance of losing this game? You know,
Yeah.
it starts out pretty even. Quickly, Gale Force gets a lead, and now it goes, all right, what colossal mistake could they make to even give this up? And out of the few that they almost made, or sometimes I feel like they even did, they were able to recover. And that puts them in such a deadly position here against No Tomorrow.
I think the biggest thing that No Tomorrow has going for them is that Gale Force eSports has been running the same, generally 2 types of compositions. We see them run double support, double warrior, and then we see them with their Braxis holdout comp. And Superstars believed that they had the answers, at least to both of those, but especially the Braxis holdout composition. Now, No Tomorrow can look at those 2 series and maybe see what changes need to be made to beat that.
I think that's a huge argument as to why No Tomorrow does have a better shot in the series than maybe I'm even giving them credit for. If they did dissect the drafts and really put in the prep work, it is possible, because Gale Force, their biggest weakness now is their predictability. But I feel like they also haven't flexed. They really haven't been pushed. They came out with series
Very
number 1
true.
against Team 8. They showed everything that they kind of had, and they're like, here's our compositions we want to run. Superstars played against them and said, you can have all those things. We think we have answers. Nobody's force banned the Zagara, right? For instance, on the Braxis holdout strategy when they showed going in that direction. Things like that. And then the double warrior and double support, knowing they want to move on to that. And any skirmishing map, it is possible for No Tomorrow to kind of rip apart those things and then be able to, outplay it. For instance, not fighting into a double team or double warrior, double support, maybe focusing more on the global game.
Well, let's head into the draft and see which of those 2 paths No Tomorrow is going to take, starting with the Battleground pool of HGC bans. On Braxis, Holdout, and Dragonshire. So that's an interesting one to see, Dragonshire, but for Gale Force banning it, knowing that No Tomorrow likes to play there, if Gale Force does not feel confident in that type of play, and then Towers of Doom will be our first Battleground.
I do like the Dragonshire ban on the side of Gale Force, just because now that it's becoming more popular in North America, I think every team is going to be that much better at it. But then No Tomorrow, the team who leaned towards it in part number 1, now that it's becoming popular, it's a safe ban on their part, showing once again, the research that we can see out of Gale Force eSports as a group of players.
Superstars did take Gale Force eSports to Dragon in game number 1, and maybe Gale Force looked back at that and didn't feel extremely confident about that. It was versus the Probius, which maybe threw them for a loop there, but saying, okay, if No Tomorrow is even stronger on Dragon because of how much they play it, maybe we just don't want to play in that one at all. But it does leave things like Warhead Junction maybe up and open. I love the Braxis ban too from No Tomorrow, though.
Yeah, it shows that they want to rid of that composition, that they personally feel like it's not even worth trying to come up with an answer. We're just going to completely remove that. And I don't think that complements No Tomorrow's playstyle very well, the map itself. So I think it makes a lot of sense. It's going to benefit their lack of strength on double macro type maps, and then it's also going to remove the fear of a composition that's yet to be beaten.
Very true, very understandable Battleground choices of bans on either side. Gale Force eSports picking Towers is not a new thing, so No Tomorrow very likely had an idea that they would be playing here on Towers of Doom. They're going to ban Falstad versus GFE. GFE responds with TAS.
Everything's sticking to the norm. Zarya is left up, but it's not one of her, insane map priorities.
Yeah, although, man, No Tomorrow loves playing her, but I really hope they go for Dahaka here.
Yeah, Dahaka with the having the original global ban on the Falstad, I agree with you. It makes a lot more sense to put the focus on the draft towards those globals. Or Gale Force most likely is going to steal it away. Gale Force was known as the global team kind of before it was cool in North America. And they agree. They get up the first pick onto the Dahaka. So where does Gale Force move? First thoughts has got to be something with Falstad, or Malfurion Zeratul is a thing. I feel like Malf is going to be a must, but what else does Gale Force want?
What's funny is, although we know Gale Force eSports likes Towers of Doom, we haven't seen them play on Towers yet in Part 2.
Yeah.
They've been able to keep their strategy, their plans here for this Battleground secret thus far.
It is as interesting purely on the fact that not only because of how much they focused it, but then how heavy they emphasize globals. They took any and every global as fast as they could, even Brightwing in part number 1.
And that makes me wonder if they're still going to try to bring her out, maybe as a double support. But sometimes when their backs were against the wall and they wanted to have globals, remember who they picked? Illidan with the Hunt.
That's a good point. They were one of the few teams, even on maps like Warhead and this here. It's going to be Zeratul and Muradin over the Malfurion. leaving that up for No Tomorrow to be a pick up in this rotation. But the Zeratul is going to be a comfort there. Having Fan on that hero, the impact he has. And then also Equinox has done significantly better when he plays on Murden. So I think that's only going to lead to the strengths of Gale Force here with the draft so far.
No Tomorrow now has 2 more picks. Zarya is still open, so is Tychus, if that would be a pick that has been a favorite of No Tomorrow so far. They prioritized those 2 picks along with Dahaka versus Tempo Storm on Towers of Doom in their first series of Part 2.
I don't feel like there's any way they give up the mouth, but I've seen crazier things in North America.
They ended up playing Karazim just later on, although, you know, they did lose that series, so we're looking for some sort of adjustment. So Zarya and Malfurion.
I was going to say, with the Zarya, it makes even more sense to go into the Malfurion because, again, she aids for a lot of the weaknesses of Malf. Like, the minute I see that Zarya, I go, okay, now you really want the Malfurion.
Yeah. And obviously, they're probably going for a triple warrior, which that also benefits, too.
All right, so Gale Force eSports has to consider what they want to remove. If they don't want Arthas on their team, that makes a lot of sense to get the ban. They hover, showing they don't want it. Again, when you have Zeratul, you typically don't want to double melee. It's not impossible, but both of them have to have a lot of DPS. Arthas is on that weird middle ground where I can see you going, nah, screw it. Arthas is enough DPS. We'll run the double warrior here, which is why I put it more of as a situational ban. Gale Force even hesitating, going, you know, is this something we're going to want later?
Well, I think in general, Arthas is only played by Fan or Equinox so far.
Yeah, and both of those heroes already picked.
Already taken.
But in theory, you could flex Crow into Murden. That was one of the few melees that he was really known on.
I don't think they're wanting, I think they're really wanting to stick with. We're not even going to go out of that. We're not going to go in. We have already committed to this. We stick with this style.
I think it's the smarter approach. I was just, you know, just for the sake of argument.
True. And you're right. You are right.
All right, so here Gale Force after the Abathur response ban. On the other side, where are they going to go in these next 2 picks? Backliners available for them. Tychus is still up.
So is Lunara.
So is the Lunara. I feel like into a Zeratul, though, or with a Zeratul, you want a bit more burst. Li-Ming doesn't stand out into, again, the heavy melee-focused composition. Tychus has got a mid-grade amount of burst.
It almost feels like it's falling back onto Kael'thas Jaina, which we talk about quite a bit. Jaina maybe to follow up with Ring of Frost after Void Prison.
I'd rather the KT. They go with the Li-Ming Greymane. Man, I didn't think the Li-Ming, I almost suggested the Greymane just because he skirmishes a bit better into those healthy heroes on the side of No Tomorrow and what we expect them to go with the pick. But Li-Ming works well with the Zeratul. We always talk about the duo there, but it's just weird into knowing both of those heroes are weak in high health pools and they're already stacked on the opposite side of the battlefield.
Now here is an interesting question. Who will Erho play? Murden's gone. ETC is, I'll just say it, flat out not a good pick for No Tomorrow. They have picked him upwards of like 12 times and not won with him now. I think they would pick Varian instead.
Yeah, that's a really tough argument to go against. I still like the ETC more, but I can see where you're coming from, especially with the lack of success that No Tomorrow has had specifically. And then what backliner do they want to have? Vala is probably going to be the go-to.
Oh yeah, he plays a noob too. So a noob and then Vala is the
Vala. Alrighty then, Gale Force, what is going to be the support? Is it in fact that rare Brightwing? I don't think there's any chance in the world with that composition that you go Brightwing. I'm guessing it's going to be the Lucio. But the lack of, you know, insta-lock for Akaface makes me question.
Is there any possibility of Lieutenant Morales? He's been playing her some.
Yeah, he has a bit, but not into this comp. Not this high of dives with that little peel. Void is your only safety net. It hurts to go in that direction. Do you want to go into the Rhaegar? Won't be able to out-sustain everything happening on the other side of the battlefield, so you got to make up for it somewhere. They're taking their time, though, which shows that, you know, it's a bit of a debate.
Do you think Cocoon is something they're considering for what would be the best support at all?
Possibly. We've seen it a lot in Europe. It's going to be Lucio. So what is that? If you were to adjust to the Cocoon, who would you adjust and pick? Because there's Since Cocoon or Nubarak was even relevant, Cleanse has changed quite a bit. It used to be able to be pre-cleanse, so actually Cocoon was... Now you can just Cocoon the support, and you always bank on the support being cocooned until they're revealed by their team, whereas back in the day, even if you threw it out there, if you got really good with cleansing, you could just pre-cleanse the Cocoon, even though it's a small, fast animation. That's the hardest part about it. It is pretty easy to pre-cleanse when you know what you're looking out for.
Yeah, my question was, is there a support who would fare better avoiding that? In which case, maybe Lucio because of the movement speed, or maybe if Morales is planning on just sitting back behind. I just wondered if you thought maybe there was any way that they were like, okay, if a noob takes Cocoon, what's our best bet for making sure we can avoid that?
Definitely Lucio and Rhaegar would be the best, the most mobile, that can sit back. So even if they see the Cocoon, they can reposition themselves before it connects to make sure they are that much safer in their positioning. But other than that, not really. Everybody is equally weak now to the modern day Cocoon.
All right, well, we have our first draft out of the way for game number 1 on Towers of Doom. Triple Warrior once again for No Tomorrow. They have a global. Over for Gale Force eSports, they have Zeratul to sort of function as that global, but won't be having their normal fall stat. I think that No Tomorrow got what they wanted and were able to deny some of what Gale Force wanted, but do you think that it's enough to be able to defeat Gale Force eSports?
I think this is one of the best compositions they're going to get. So I think, I don't know if I feel comfortable saying right now, naturally, if the names were removed, I like No Tomorrow's draft better. I think it's easier to run compared to their opponents. So if they aren't successful in this game, I think it only shows how much harder games 2 and 3, if we make it past that point, really for No Tomorrow are going to be.
Let's get right into it. We are ready for game number 1 as we head into Towers of Doom between No Tomorrow and Gale Force eSports.
Here on the left is Gale Force eSports. Akaface is going to be playing the Lucio Equinox. Now the main warrior is going to be a Murden. Mike Udall will be playing the Greymane. Crowan, as always, on his famous Li Ming. And Fan is going to be on Zeratul.
And No Tomorrow. Support player Tiger JK playing Malfurion. Erho playing Anubarak. Playing Zarya will be Talking Trees, flexing it out. Casanova will be playing Dahaka, one of his favorites. And Jason finally will be playing one of his favorites, Vala.
Right now, from what we've seen out of Korean Draft so far in part number 2, anytime you can get yourself on the Zarya Vala with a solid support, being like the Ariel or the Malfurion, it's suggested to be the most dominant strategy within their region, which is why I feel like I really like what No Tomorrow's draft is, and the double, you know, the Li Ming Zeratul into 3 warriors, having global advantage, like everything, you know, of the simple rules you can set in your head in Heroes of the Storm makes me want to lean towards No Tomorrow. It's just more of the strength of Gale Force that has me so reserved and being like, I just don't know if they have it in them.
And let me add to that strength, because we've got a couple of power picks for Gale Force eSports. Fan has been averaging 4.1 kills per game on Zeratul, which, trust me, I look at all of these, and that is very high. And then Crowan averages 4.3 on Li Ming. We'll see if they both can maintain that, given the fact that, again, they're up against this triple warrior. But both of those picks are terrifying ones for Gale Force.
Gale Force does have the weaker laning phase, and they kind of have forfeited that just with this trio we see on the bottom half of the map. Fan realizes it's unlikely to get a gank down on bottom, so instead trying to apply pressure up in the mid and to the top lanes. It's going to be a more stall game up until these ults are spawning for Gale Force eSports, but No Tomorrow didn't apply enough pressure for it really to be that relevant. Is they're going to back out, start the sappers up.
Gale Force should start to do the same as we see Zeratul and Lucio moving in. This has become very commonplace in North America to instantly move and grab these sappers as the altars first indicate that they are activating. No Tomorrow, in theory, should have a nice setup for this because they do have Dahaka the global. They're going to invade the sappers of Gale Force eSports and take them.
What that is going to do, though, is cripple the Dahaka on that solo channel. So is anybody going to rotate up to be able to aid him? Zeratul and Greymane look like they're making that rotation. Casanova's already at 50% HP. Anubarak's looking to join, but it might be, again, a little too late.
Yeah, it's 3 versus 2 so far for Gale Force eSports. Arrow has a burrow charge and will use it. Both of the warriors trying to go in and out to delay. Does he have an impale to throw out? He does. It knocks Michael Udall up and stops the channel. Casanova is moving around the side. This entire time, all No Tomorrow are doing are buying time for this siege to happen in the bottom lane because of those sappers. They will give up an altar on their side, but they are trying to get a bell tower to make up for it.
That was such an interesting approach to this early game, just forfeiting those shots for a bit of experience and control onto the bell towers. It's just going to be very important here for No Tomorrow to translate this into another advantage whenever we see Gale Force respond to the bottom bell tower.
Yeah, it's later game focus.
Yeah, it is. And I personally think it's a really safe strategy for them to move into. I think because that's one of the few things you can rely on, right, is your opponents will look to make that sapper play. You know they're going to then try and take advantage with things upwards on the top half of the map, not going if my opponent makes a mistake. You go if they respond properly, still No Tomorrow gets the upper hand. It's just now, while the bell tower is being converted, they have a 30-second window where they need to get an advantage somewhere. Man, Dahaka is going to win this, has to get off the point. Fans there.
Singularity Spike does not hit. He doesn't even have Secret in the Dark yet to be able to jump to it. So more control of Sappers here in the top lane like we saw similarly yesterday.
Here it is. So this is where they know that Gale Force is going to respond to the pressure on that bottom bell tower, so they take out this front wall. The minute this goes down, convert to the top front wall. Just maximize your experience, or the top fort, whatever it is on the opposite side of the map. Just because you don't want to siege up on mid, purely based on the fact that it's the next closest lane to where all the members of Gale Force eSports are.
I look like they might be heading back down to defend this bell tower for as long as they can because Sapper camps are back up.
So it's going to be more of a Sapper cycle than it is, in fact, going to be playing this safe experience game. Again, it comes down to banking on your opponent making a risk versus a safer call here. This is why I like the rotation up top more than the Sappers. If it works out, the 3 shots will make up for the almost enough to make up for the 4-shot sacrifice for this play.
But even if not, if they get one of these altars, that's an additional shot.
But it's giving up 4 for 1, right? So that's where you need to make these Sappers worth the time.
Yes, but they will maintain constant control over bell towers later on. So they could, in theory, right, continue cycling these bell towers because they have focused on front walls and top and mid?
Because they have a global, yes. But again, it's one of those, it's not nearly as safe or absolute, right?
Okay.
It always comes down to safety when it comes to what is the most reasonable choice. Casanova burrows in, misses the drag though, so not going to have the keen play. Anubarak started the channel, got it. Oh man!
Trees!
The trade up on top. I was going to say he got interrupted, but I quickly did with that amazing skirmish happening here in mid.
And bottom, Anubarak grabs the altar. They're still duking it out here in the mid over this altar. Airho walks in, gets a kill on Fan. They trade out for Dahaka. Equinox jumps away. Airho's going back in.
Kruen's out of mana. So this doesn't even, they have no opportunity to even take the rest of this fight. I thought for a moment, you know, getting resets there, Kruen might be able to turn that fight. But in fact, was not able to. They're running out of the beautiful blue bar, which so many Leaving players know that feel. The Sappers did not make it in though, so still in theory, No Tomorrow gained half a level in experience advantage. It was more like a quarter to be honest. The rest came from just kills and other side soak. And they gave up the 4 shots to gain 1 is what they managed to make happen in that small experience. So still looking to see if No Tomorrow can abuse this experience advantage and justify that, you know, innovative level 1 play.
Where's the one that you said? The extra shot from the
extra shot was purely just the altar. That was the only shot they gained while they sacrificed.
They got 2 extra shots though. Yeah, they took both the altars.
Oh, then that's a good point. That's true. Two extra shots were gained. So they're only down 2 and still up in the experience. It's just whether or not they can capitalize with that experience. You see them applying pressure here on top.
Yeah, they really want to take this bell tower so that they can have a continued advantage over their opponents and make Gale Force just constantly play the defense game while No Tomorrow can run away rampant with this Battleground. But Gale Force stole the Sappers from No Tomorrow in the bottom lane because they knew so many members of No Tomorrow were in the top. It's funny, this game is so much about trades and payments and what will be worth.
As a general rule, responding, I mean, even when I coach, this is one of the main things I teach, is responding to a losing situation is almost always a bad call. Just based on the fact that to respond to a losing situation, you have to buy 10 seconds to make the rotation, and then what did you lose in that? Oh, the drag. Akaface manages to not survive. Ends up going down. Void is going to be buying a little time there. Burrow.
Equinox walks in. Twilight Dream just takes Leeming out, but Bala goes down too, and does Malfurion. It's a 2 for 2. Equinox in trouble. Dwarf tosses out. Mike is running for his life toward the opposite side, but may be able to just back out to safety. But all the while, an altar is up, and still 3 members of No Tomorrow in position to move in on it.
Fans trying to move up. He will hit the Singularity Spike. Can he make it out, though? There's going to be his first teleport. Castle's just going to get the channel. 4 or 5 more shots, excuse me, going into the core here of Gale Force.
It's surprising.
That was exactly what I was thinking. I was like, things I never thought I would see this early in this series. The fact that the kills are dead even, but the health of the core is so far for No Tomorrow here. This is, I mean, the fact that they are even putting up these type of games against Gale Force, you know, this is only the first one and things could get hairy, but this is exactly what I was hoping to see out of this group of players. It really shows the difference here from part 1 and part 2 of their play.
Yeah, it's amazing. These players have amassed a lot of fans in their times on other teams, so it's awesome to see them finally showing their true potential as a team once they can come together. Lest you guys forget, these guys are in the bottom of the standings in HGC North America, but I know even teams in the middle of the standings are taking a look at how promising these games from No Tomorrow have been and saying, there's no guarantee that No Tomorrow is going to be in the bottom by the end.
I mean, that's how I feel. You know, if they keep up this play, they win against, especially, I mean, if they manage to take out Gale Force, the only teams I would be afraid for them not to be able to beat at this point would just be Teammate and Tempo. I would put them above every other team. I actually even got in an argument with the guy in production yesterday about this exact thing. I was like, no, man, No Tomorrow here looks so different between part 1 and 2 that I have a lot of faith in them. Maybe more than they deserve at this point, because consistency makes a great team as well.
It does.
Not just one-off performances.
But so far, that consistency is there from one week to the next. They've taken sappers. They're trying to siege down the bottom bell tower in time for this next altar phase. Always having a shot up over their opponents, not only so that they can get additional shots and make those altars even more lethal to Gale Force, but in the event that Gale Force wins altars, makes their altar phases a little bit less lethal to No Tomorrow's core.
This is going to be start the channel to trees, strafe to zone off, but Crowan with the teleport over is going to use that heroic to be able to buy a bit more time. A secondary channel is going to be started. We have a bit of skirmish there, and Nubarak made it out.
Let's keep an eyes on Fan too. Casanova sitting there trying to zone.
He's going to pop his passive. There goes the cleanse.
He's already used adaptation too, so that is a lot of the sustain that Casanova has. This might be the best chance for Gale Force to get in the fight, especially with Expulsion Zone not zoning anybody into the team. But it does allow No Tomorrow to reset.
Gale Force here just is not given any opportunities yet. Mike Udall gets scouted out. I was just going to say we're yet to see an offensive void attempt to try and take a fight. Which
nobody is there. Nobody rotated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right there it was just, you know, saving out the Green. But even on that skirmish down below, I thought for sure, you know, open for a void, look to try and force the fight, especially after the Calamity into the Disintegrate to buy a bit more time from Crowan on those channels. And they're just yet to do it. Now there's going to be 75 seconds. Void is still not available. No Tomorrow not giving anything up to Gale Force eSports here. Even without a Talontier lead, that was aggro. They zoned them off.
Once again, focusing on the bottom lane with 2 Sapper camps available. Get 1. Starting to push that lane too.
Huh. Now once again, Urho with the solo defense. Just trying to rid of the minions more than the heroes, because the shots on the heroes would do more. In case you're wondering why he just does not touch them. It's the safest defense strategy. Bottom bell tower is converted. And Huro says mission complete. He's going to walk away. See if they can defend up on top here. Murden is waiting in the wakes. He gets the Dwarf Toss over.
As soon as the bell tower goes down too. So Casanova's going to jump in, and Arrow is here too. They're going after Mike Udall, who looks like a juicy target. It's knocked up from Burrow Charge. Uses Razor Swipe to get away for now. All of Gale Force eSports show up to defend. And so will No Tomorrow walking in. Those sappers are on the bottom lane. 16 to 16, Twilight Dream.
The sound barrier is there though, so that's going to be enough heals. Expulsion Zone still, crippling him, but Zarya just is legitimately deleted in a half of a second there, overextending. There is the void we've been looking for. 2 members caught in, and another Crowan reset is going to be happening here. Greymane dancing on the backlines and everything falling apart for No Tomorrow. Casanova manages to burrow out. He will not get this channel though. 1 Dwarf Toss, Stole Bolt, max range, calling it.
Dwarf Toss, Storm
He
doesn't.
missed!
Oh, no!
I put pressure on him. I regret everything.
Oh no! Well, they still got 2 of the altars, so Gale Force eSports starting to fight back, winning a crucial team fight and 2 of the altars, and with that top bell tower converted, it was still the normal 4 shots. Gale Force eSports are down by a mile, but we know they know how to play Towers of Doom. We know they know how to come back here.
They also have experience on their side. The fact that they have that level lead, if they somehow, can split a bit more of the pressure on the map, buy a little bit more time. They don't have global, so that will set them it will be harder to do. But if they can wait out till that 20 spike and really make something happen there. We always know the shots at the very end of Towers of Doom, as long as you have experience, they are no longer this, oh, here's 4 shots here and there. It suddenly becomes, literally it feels like 16 in a matter of 20 seconds can go off.
Yeah, No Tomorrow knows what that feels like.
Yeah.
Because Tempo Storm did it to them.
Yeah, they had the one team fight at the very end, and I think they lost 12 core health.
Yeah, because it was all the bell towers, 1 altar, and then the 3 shots.
Yeah.
11 or 12.
Being trickled in. The sappers here on bottom are going to be easy work for No Tomorrow. And we're just waiting for another shrine. We do see Equinox scouting out this camp. It's going to be started. Fan is in mid, so we can rotate down. It looks like this is going to be a full invade attempt. They know they're here.
What's important for Gale Force is that that team fight allowed them to reset the map because they had been under pressure from as early as 3 minutes once No Tomorrow took the first bell tower.
Yeah, being able to not be on the chase of the bell tower conversion.
Yeah.
Is huge, but still shout out to No Tomorrow for being able to apply that constant pressure. Most teams, a lesser team would have given that break, not after a full team wipe, but would have been just purely off of a poor rotation. They were on top of their game up until that last skirmish.
Experience advantage for Gale Force eSports heading into this next altar phase, but not 20 just yet. Trying to keep the soak on the lanes, trying to get to that point.
Equinox does land the Storm Bolt with nobody there for the follow-up. Man, the 20 is just barely out of range here for Gale Force to bank on delaying long enough. It's like a little under a half level you can usually rely on. But this is going to be past that 50% mark. Equinox and Urho skirmishing, trying to zone.
Yeah, they're trying to zone away all the skill shots of Crowan. She dives in for Disintegrate. Now Expulsion Zone's been used. Equinox gets rooted. Tiger JK is so close. He does get it. So a trade on altars.
That was better for Gale Force again because they have that 20 spike. They just need to make sure they take advantage of the map, gain control, minimum of 1 bell tower conversion with that spike here. It's going to start with the sappers on bottom. Bottom bell tower for No Tomorrow right now is only at 75%, so this is getting very close to being converted.
No Tomorrow's trying to steal the boss.
They're going to get it. Maybe not, actually. I thought they started that a smidge earlier
Dan's
here.
going to see this. He has Void Prison. This is scary.
They know he's there.
All of Gale Force is
They
here.
have no avatar, though. There's the Void. No Expulsion Zone used yet.
And hold on to the point, too.
And there's the Expulsion Zone after.
Oh, no! It didn't drop! Twilight Dream was trying to stop people from going in, but he kind of mistimed that. He has Ice Block. Crowan is really close. Can Arrow get the kill? Fan is low in the back, too, but it's Greymane who ends up falling first. No Tomorrow stays strong.
No Tomorrow down a 20 Talontier and not even, perfectly timing the heroic synergies and everything.
Was he trying to Twilight Dream just to keep everyone away? Like, hey, I'm right here, so you can't capitalize on this Void?
Well, it's more of like, if he drops it at that point, it's just trying to guess on when he's going to drop it, really is mainly the thing. But the Expulsion Zone patience is the biggest thing I want to point out there for Trees.
Yeah.
Seeing the Void and just the whole time going like, all right, that's neat. Wait for it. Wait for it. All right, that's going to be ours. Thanks. We'll walk away with this for free.
And that was down 20 tier.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it was ridiculous. They somehow get it to where it's 1 shot away. That was a reasonable fight for Gale Force to take. Just insane that Gale Force lost it, honestly.
This is even a bigger lead than they No Tomorrow had versus Tempo Storm on Towers of Doom. Is this it? Can they close this out? It will be a team fight. There's no Void for 20 seconds, though.
Yeah, the Void is the biggest thing that makes me feel like the answer is no, Gale Force cannot do this. As long as No Tomorrow gets the Twilight Dream, post 20, it should be fine, and that's going to be 4 seconds away. 8 seconds here for the Void, so it's going to be pretty close to even. Casanova is going to start the channel. Equinox moving up, gets body blocked. There's going to be a drag.
Watch for Fanny sharking around. Arrow keeping his eyes on him, though. He gets low. Jason vaults walks in, a
The
strafe
strafe.
2, but it takes it out. Void has been dropped on 1, but Casanova, everyone from
Twilight!
so healthy. Twilight Dream hits 2, and Greymane is destroyed.
Crow in there teleporting out, hoping he can escape here, but again, it's just going to take one channel, and this will be it for Gale Force. Can't block all of that Miro Ball. Tiger JK is going to have to try again. Akaphase desperately moves up. Drops the sound barrier on himself, but I think that's going to be his fate as he goes down. Crowin, and this is going to be it. Slowly but surely, game number 1, No Tomorrow gets the upset of the century and takes out Gale Force here.
We started saying taking games would make such a strong case for No Tomorrow. The first game on Towers of Doom, that's a super strong case.
It is. It is a huge, huge statement for
It
No
is.
Tomorrow. It is colossal, and it makes me feel like I want to see game 2. I'm not sold yet. I know that sounds like here's Dread, the cynic who always says like, no, I hate fun and I hate cool things when it happens. But the natural side of me says, I want to see Gale Force after getting shaken up there. What do they do in the draft? Because let's be honest here, the Zarya trio with Vala, all that was very handed over to them in the draft. So when you take that away with what we know is internationally respected draft, does the same thing happen? That is the only reason I just want to hit the pause button on the hype
Okay,
train.
fun police.
Before we just get going, we got to take a mini, all right?
Okay.
But I agree with you. It is still beyond exciting to see this for No Tomorrow.
Because it wasn't just like an easy
No.
win, like we were just gonna come in, we play a normal game. That was a calculated win. As early as 3
Yeah.
minutes from
Yeah.
No Tomorrow, they gave up an altar versus Gale Force eSports in order to make sure that they played the long game, and that paid off in dividends for them. This is awesome to see for No Tomorrow.
I agree. It's going to be exciting. I want to really put emphasis on, I think the second draft is going to be pretty telling of the actual strength of both these teams.
Agreed.
Is Gale Force overhyped? Or is No Tomorrow, better than we're even giving them credit for?
Oh man, well we have to go to a break before we get that game, but we'll be right back with game number 2 between these two teams.